Curriculum Instruction in the Valley Stream Central High School District. On behalf of the staff and administration, we would like to thank you for attending tonight's parent workshop, Parenting in the Time of Social Media, Social Distancing, Social Change, with local family therapist Rob Abbott. The Valley Stream Central High School District recognizes the difficulties that parents, students, families, and staff have endured since the beginning of COVID-19, beginning in March. You might recall over the summer, we began the Summer Bridge program, which included weekly newsletters, live parent and student forums, website resources to address the social and emotional needs and concerns of our community. As we have begun the 2021 school year in a remote and hybrid context, we recognize the need to support our families and staff and have developed a parent workshop series that will run from November to April, with topics including parenting in the pandemic, mindfulness techniques, supporting your child's education, self-care, and more. You are invited to and encouraged to attend these webinars, and if you are unable, as I said, we will do our best to record these and post them at a later date. Joining us tonight are several members of the district PPS staff and district administration. If, as I say their names, just please say hello so everyone recognizes who you are. Dr. Stephanie Haig.
Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Mrs. Catherine Cichetti.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Ms. Georgianne Christensen.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for attending.
Dr. Jennifer DeMayo.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here with us.
Ms. Kelly Whitney Rivera.
Hello, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. And what I also should have shared is those staff members are in each of our buildings as well as our district office. Our presenter tonight is Rob Abbott, a licensed clinical social worker with certification in family therapy with over 25 years of experience in supporting youth and families. We hope that you enjoyed tonight's webinar. Should you or your child need assistance in any way, please reach out to someone in the PPS department at your child's school. We extend our wishes of good health to you and your family. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Abbott.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to start by sharing my screen. So do that. As Mr. Bowen was saying, and thank you for that introduction. I'm very happy to be here. I'm honored, really privileged to have this opportunity. This is the topic for today. It's parenting in the age of social media, social distancing, social change, guiding and supporting your kid while caring for yourself. So I'm hoping in this time we have that we get to all of that. It's a lot to do in this period of time. So again, this is me. Please call me Rob. I'm Rob Abbott, and I am in private practice in Malvern. Been working as a social worker for about 28 years, mostly in Brooklyn, and very happy to be practicing where I live here. And I am also a parent in the district. And, you know, I want to say, you know, just first of all, that I am, you know, I'm a family therapist. So what I do is I sit with families and we put our heads together to kind of focus on the goals that families have. So it's very much, you know, getting kind of everybody's minds working, my own, of course, and parents and young people figuring out things for that family. So I don't want to present myself as a parenting expert. In fact, I am a parent and I need to take my own advice. So I want to say that. And I also want to say that from my perspective, the expert in the lives of children are their parents. So from my perspective, you are the expert in your child. You know them better than anybody. You're closer to them than anybody. And also, you know, in the bigger picture, therapists and counselors and teachers everybody who has a role in the child's life that are obviously crucial, important roles. And at the same time, as time goes on, we will become memories, and your relationship with your child will go on and on and on for your lifetime, right? So you will be critical in your child's life at age 5, at age 15, at age 25, at age 35, and on and on. And so those of us who are in the professional role of supporting families do well to remember that parents know their children better than anybody. Parents are the primary adult in children's lives, and our job is really to support that ongoing relationship past the point that we don't have an active role in your family's life. So I want to just put that frame on kind of how I think about what we're doing here today. So these are the goals that I hope my presentation will address at least somewhat, which is to talk a little bit about what are our children up against. As parents, we need to know, right? We need to know what is going on for our children, right? In our neighborhoods, we want to know is what is that unfamiliar car that I've seen parked, on the street? What are you hearing? Who is going to be at that party? What are you eating for dinner? No, you can't have ice cream before you have your dinner, because I need to know what's going on in your life, and I have a responsibility to your health, wellness, growth, and development. And that goes for children's mental health as well as for every single other aspect of their development and health and wellness. It's just an aspect, right? There's a way that we put it off to the side, that mental health is something that it carries a stigma in our society, and we tend to think it is something that goes on in the therapy room, right? For some people, and what I'm suggesting is that we all have mental health is a universal responsibility in the same way that physical health is, and we all have a role. And we kind of need to be clear as parents what our children are up against in terms of challenges to their mental health wellness. And the other thing why it's important to know what our children are up against and what are some of the common effects of those challenges is it kind of can help us understand that when our children are being annoying, when they are driving us nuts, it's not for no reason, right? It's for reasons. It's for reasons, which is not to say that excuses behaviors, but it does help us when we need to dig deep with patience, when it's hard to like our kids, even when we love them, that there are reasons that they are showing the kinds of struggles that they're having. And the other thing that it does is when we understand kind of what our children are dealing with, we kind of get, it's not us, right? It's not that we are ineffective parents or we did something wrong. There are conditions that we all live in, that our children are living in, that affect them. And yes, we have to deal with it, but it's not, a litmus test about how good of parents we are when our children struggle. So I also hope we can talk a little bit about what it means for our parenting and for our family relationships. Parents are learners. Parents are learners, right? When your child is making that transition from being school age, late, elementary age, to being a tween or a teen, nobody comes and gives you a manual like, oh, here's what's coming in a year from now, and here's everything you need to know, right? You learn that in your day-to-day experience with your child. And the other thing is, if you learned that with your first child, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're good to go for the second child, because that's a different person. That's a different kid, right? We all have to, that's part of what we're doing as parents, as we are learning the people who we are charged as their parents to guide and launch into adulthood. And so understanding, kind of what some of the things that are going on in our society and in our culture and what it means for our parenting is going to help us in our role of learning the job of parenting and learning our kids. Also, we can cover what some steps, some stuff we feel like you're going away with, so a few practical things that you can take away um, in terms of your relationships and your role as parent with your children to foster your connection with them, to build resilience in them, and also to promote behavior change for them where that behavior change needs to come. And finally, it's this question of how do we care for ourselves so we can be present for our children for the long haul, right? I said it before, you've got to be there. We have got to be there for our children now, and when they are teens, and when they are young adults, and when they are full adults. The job of parenting never ends. So our capacity to stand our own 2 feet matters in our ability to be there for our kids. So I actually am going to ask that we pause for a second, and I'll pause for a second from this launch of this turn of words that are launching. And I'm going to ask you to join me in taking a minute, because actually that's pretty critical in what we're dealing with and going forward, is that we are taking a minute. So what we're going to do is something called box breathing. You'll see it here, and it's described on here. It's a technique to calm yourself down with a simple 4-second rotation of breathing in, holding your breath, breathing out, holding your breath, and repeating. It was developed actually sort of not in a woo-woo yoga studio. It's developed by Navy SEALs, a breathing technique that's simple and effective to regain calm and control your thoughts when under stress, right? Which is kind of where we all find ourselves at the moment. So I'm gonna just scroll back up, and you'll see that there is just a very simple visual for breathing in and holding, exhaling and holding. And I'm gonna stop talking and let's do 60 seconds together, just kind of using this as our guide. Okay, so thank you for joining me in that. And so now we'll go on, and I want to start out by creating a context of kind of talking about one way to kind of locate where our children are, sort of some common circumstances that kind of help create an understanding and a context about why we're seeing the level of anxiety that we're seeing, why we're seeing children struggling with depressive feelings. What is it about? And what are some of the things that are going on, so that we can have a way of thinking about it and understanding it, that it's not just us, it's not just our kid. Again, there's reasons. So I'm going to, you indulge me a little bit, because I'm going to kind of go big and then, kind of bring us up to the present and be a little philosophical. So, forgive me for kind of going back to the Big Bang here. So I want to start out by talking about the human condition. And I'm going to say that an aspect of the human condition is suffering. And there are reasons for that. And one way to think about that is to think about human evolution. So in evolutionary terms, the human brain is brand new. It's brand new. in the course of all of evolution, that this thing that we all have, in here, is been around for, a hot minute. A simple way to talk about the human brain is in three parts. There are three parts to the human brain. There is the core, which is the reptilian brain. There is the part that goes around that, which is the mammalian brain, the mammal brain, right, that we share with all mammals, and that's the emotion part, right? And then there is the frontal cortex, right? And that is what makes us human. That is just humans that have that fully. So another way to think about that is that reptilian brain is the survival part of the brain. So think about, a lizard on the desert who's concerned about cold and heat and food and predators, right? That is that fight, flight, freeze. What do I need to do to survive, to keep myself warm enough or cool enough, fed or not fed, and not eaten, right? That part of that brain, the just basic functions of the brain to stay alive. Then that next part of the brain is the mammal part of the brain. And that's the part of the brain that, we share with, think about a wolf pack, or about what we know about, our ancestors. Those, mammals, they survived in packs by coming together, right? The wolf pack or the clan, right, of cave people, right? And, that group of 25 or 50 people worked together to survive. And, you can sort of see where that kind of brain is about, like a connection, attachment, right? The way that, puppies pile up when they sleep together, they're attached. They want to always be skin to skin. And how rejection, right, from that group meant for a wolf or for a cave person. If you're rejected, if you couldn't be part of the group, it means you died, right? It was about your survival. So that part of the brain is about how you feel about other people and how you attach. And it's sort of in that part of the brain, when you feel or are concerned or are rejected, it kind of brings up, again, a survival question, right? Because of that stage of evolution. And then there is this upper part of the brain, which is cognition, the ability to reason. It's where language exists, memories are held, and it's kind of obviously been the source of our success, that we can plan for the future. We can look back and reflect and learn from the past. And that's how we've built civilizations. We can talk to each other. We can think critically. And we have had enormous success because of that. And at the same time, that capacity to think into the future and to be aware of and learn from the past makes us vulnerable. There's a quote there that people have sort of known this for a long time. This guy, Seneca, is a first century, 2,000 year ago philosopher. He says, wild animals run from dangers they actually see. And once they escape them, worry no more, right? So the wildebeest sees the lion, runs to another part, doesn't worry about the lion anymore, right? We, however, are tormented alike by what is past and what is to come. So it is our nature to be aware of the past, and then we get into that vulnerability of regrets, right? All the things that we didn't do, or we did do, or somebody did to us that we ruminate about. And like that time in third grade when so-and-so said so-and-so to me, I should have said blah, 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 blah. How many times have you run through those things in your head, right? Over and over again about the past, right? And we worry about the future. We worry about the future, right? You open your eyes in the morning and all of a sudden your mind is casting forward to what might be coming your way, or what might happen, or that thing that is not happening right now. It's not happening till tomorrow or 3 days from now, or 2 months from now, and you're worrying about it. Because that is the nature of the human mind, right? That is both the wonderful thing and the tricky thing about being human. And that includes us and our kids, right? So going up from like all those thousands of years ago to since 1950. So in the course of the 20th century, we saw a big social change, which is a decline of social capital, right? There was a time when people stayed where they were born, right? People pretty much, lived in multi-generational families, right? Grandparents, parents, children. People didn't move around so much. Now, obviously, there's enormous mobility. People don't necessarily stay in the same places. People don't gather the way they did. Not as many people you can go to houses of worship as they did. People don't go participate in clubs. There's a book that came out that's still relevant, came out about 20 years ago, Bowling Alone, right? People are not in bowling leagues anymore. One way I think about that is you think about back in, I guess for most of us, it'd even be like our parents' generation, on a hot summer night, right? Hot summer night in a neighborhood, think about a city neighborhood or even a suburban neighborhood, back before there was air conditioning and forget about computers, even television, right? Like, what would you expect to see on a hot summer night? You'd expect to see, right, people sitting out on their stoops, children playing under the street lights until the light until it's completely dark, and their parents are calling back, and they're coming back all sweaty from running the streets together. Neighbors are calling out to each other. That's was entertainment, right? Like, people were connected. And think about now on a hot summer night, and where are people, right? Where are we, right? We're sitting in front of a television screen and also have a smartphone that we're scrolling through at the same time, and everybody in the household is all doing that, right? So there is increasing isolation in our society, and you can see that there's public health research that shows that loneliness and social isolation are as damaging to health as smoking 15 packs of cigarettes a day, right? So we have a crisis of isolation in our society. And we're human, we're mammals, and we're not built for isolation. Another factor that, for our children, this is also true for us, is there's a decline in economic mobility in our society. I wanna show you this slide right here. If you look at this slide and you look down here, this is covering these years, right, from 1940 to 1980. So this obviously is relevant for us as well, most of us as adults. And you can see that in 1940, it was virtually certain that a child would out-earn his or her parents at the same age. That is kind of what every child kind of grew up in a sense of, like, what is the trajectory of my life, right? What is my birthright? How do I see the course of my life going? And that's what had been happening. And that's what people could sort of stand on the ground and have an expectation that was the case. And look, by 1980, there's now at that point, right now, this is going back, and if we this go further on, this would continue to decline. By 1980 plus, there was only a 50-50 chance that young people are going to out-earn their parents at a certain age. So think about teenagers and think about young adults launching into adulthood and how challenging that is already. And then to have that sense of, what are my prospects, right? And how do I think and how do I envision my life if I can't vision my life in the context of my parents' life, right? So that is, again, another aspect of kind of what the world our children are growing up with. So there we are, and there's a certain kind of way that's us and our children, right? Up through those first three things, right? And then we get to 2010, and then we get to 2010. And the rise of smart devices and social media. If you haven't watched The Social Dilemma on Netflix, I recommend it. Maybe when you're also going to then watch a Disney movie after that to kind of calm yourself down. here's the thing, right, about these devices. Smart devices and social media are built to exploit the vulnerabilities of the human brain. So go back to when we first evolved, right? That brain we talked about, and this brand new human brain that is both wonderful and problematic, right? And these devices are built to exploit those very vulnerabilities, right? That emotion brain that perceives rejection as a survival threat because we're mammals, and that's, you know, not that far back in our evolution was the case if you were rejected by the group. So think about likes on a TikTok account or an Instagram account, and the feeling of rejection and what happens in a child's emotion brain, right? And they're specifically designed to do that. And the product that the smartphones and social media are selling is our attention, right? So their profit is connected to their ability to capture our attention, right? And yeah, I want to show you this, and I get this from the this documentary. So this is a chart of, you know, I don't even know what flops are, but right, it is a measure of the total computer processing power globally, and you kind of look from 1980 to 2005, and then look what happens, right, in the last 10 years. Look at that line going up. And then I want to show you this. This is 2005 right here, and this is suicide rates. This is specifically late teens. Suicide rates from 2005, and look what happens to suicide rates between 2005 and 2015. This is girls, this is boys. And here it's another again. This is the suicide-related hospitalizations for children in 2008, and this is it in 2015.
Rob, you're about halfway.
Thank you. And then we get to 2020. Welcome to 2020. You know, all of our, you know, my child's at North, and she's home because, you know, of the pandemic. And I don't need to go on with that. This is where our children are, right? If you're going to place them on this board and then the chutes and ladders and all the chutes that they could possibly be sliding down, this is the picture, right, of what we are contending with as parents. All right, let's move on. So that's the sobering news, right? That is the tough news. Here's some good news. So there are new shoots like social media, like smartphones, like the 2020 and everything that's going on now that our children can slide down, but there are also new ladders. There are new ladders. There has been an exponential growth in neuroscience and in psychology, and those new developments in both research and clinical practice are confirming what humans have known by way of spirituality for thousands of years. So there's a coming together of science and spirituality in the last 20 years that gives us new information and new tools. And this is what some of that information is showing us. One of the things it's showing us is our brains are flexible, and they're flexible for our whole lives. Humans are resilient. I'm going to show you a video that I have to access here. So this is a video about neuroplasticity, and this is what the latest neuroscience is saying about the human brain.
Not so long ago, many scientists believed that the brain did not change after childhood, that it was hardwired and fixed by the time we became adults. But recent advances in only the last decade now tell us that this is simply not true. The brain can and does change throughout our lives. It is adaptable, like plastic. Hence, neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity. How does neuroplasticity work? If you think of your brain as a dynamic, connected power grid, there are billions of pathways or roads lighting up every time you think, feel, or do something. Some of these roads are well-traveled. These are our habits, our established ways of thinking, feeling, and doing. Every time we think in a certain way, practice a particular task, or feel a specific emotion, we strengthen this road. It becomes easier for our brains to travel this pathway. Say we think about something differently, learn a new task, or choose a different emotion. We start carving out a new road. If we keep traveling that road, our brains begin to use this pathway more, and this new way of thinking, feeling, or doing becomes second nature. The old pathway gets used less and less and weakens. This process of rewiring your brain by forming new connections and weakening old ones is neuroplasticity in action. The good news is that we all have the ability to learn and change by rewiring our brains. If you have ever changed a bad habit or thought about something differently, you have carved a new pathway in your brain and experienced neuroplasticity firsthand. With repeated and directed attention towards your desired change, you can rewire your brain.
So this is true for ourselves and for our children, right? It's small changes repeated, over time creates new pathways, right? We have that capacity. What I'm in this part that I'm going through now, I'm basing this on a couple of different modalities, psychology modalities that have been around for the last 20 to 30 years. And it's third wave behavioral therapies and positive psychology are two movements that are now research based, and they are showing a couple of things. In addition to that, our brains being flexible, the research shows that humans are mostly resilient. We're mostly resilient. The research and the clinical practice also shows that a sense of well-being can be taught, and we know something about how to do it. And the model of behavior change that has come out of the behavioral psychology research is that some of the ways that we have gone about behavior change, which is making resolutions and fixing our will to make that change, right? We're going to start exercising, or we're going to, stop eating whatever, ice cream during the week. That's actually not how behavior change works. How behavior change works is taking the tiniest steps and being kind to yourself while you're doing it. That is actually what the research and practice is showing about how behavior change happens for ourselves and for our children. Here's like a guy who is writing about this now. He's just written a book that's called Tiny Habits. And this is the path towards behavior change for ourselves and for our children. So you can see here that in this recipe card, that if you want to develop a new habit for yourself, you want your children to develop a new habit, you basically figure out how to connect it to something that's going on in your life, an anchor moment, when you are putting on your shoes, or when you are brushing your teeth, or when you are walking the dog, that you're connecting it to something you're already doing. You're figuring out what that tiny behavior is that you're doing. And then after you do the tiny behavior, the one push-up or the one mindful breath, you're celebrating, right? This is what is being shown to be effective, right? So when we encourage our children to make tiny changes in behavior or ourselves and celebrate them, over time, it lays the groundwork for bigger changes. So in a certain kind of way, what you want to do about behavior change is lower your expectations, right? Because you want to work on tiny changes. So I want to talk a little bit about some parenting do's, right? In the context of raising children in 2020. So one of the things I want to encourage is working towards balance. I'm going to go to that second part, that second thing, it was connection and guidance. I've been working in family counseling for a long time, and I consistently, have experienced that around now is when there would be crises in families, and when I would have to sometimes make a report, a mandated reporting report for a child abuse allegation. And it's around the holidays and around report card time, right? Where parents are feeling like they're, wanting to see their children change. They're wanting to see a behavior change. It feels like there's a lot of pressure, a lot of frustration, and, your parents get so focused on the correction, right, that they lose the relationship. And one of the things that I want to encourage us all to do is to find the balance between expectations and connection. We are going to be able to guide our children more effectively if we're also still staying aware and connected to the relationship with them. That care is there always, and it deserves nurture as well as expectations about getting homework done and taking out the trash. And if the way that you're going to handle, the guidance is going to damage the relationship, take a step back, take a breath, and figure out another way to come at it. The other thing I'm going to suggest is finding the balance between acceptance and change. We need to accept that those conditions that I kind of laid out, that they are there. They are there. We cannot solve those on an individual basis. That is the conditions from which we live. We could say, I'm going to take every single bit of social media away from you, right? And then our kids are going to be completely out of the conversation that's going on. There's no wrong or right in relation to this, but that's the point, right? There's no wrong or right, right? You let them do it, and then the online bullying happens, or the worries about the likes happen, or the worries about what can happen on the internet happen. You don't let them do it at all, and then a million things happen on the weekend that they're completely not connected to when they go back to school on Monday. There's a way that we have to accept that these are some of the challenges. It is the nature of human life to be vulnerable to suffering, and there's a certain degree that we have to accept that. We may want things for our children. We cannot mold them into the image of what they think we should be. There's some degree at which we have to accept that we cannot tuck our children's under the arm and run them across the finish line, right? We have to kind of do that. And we have to balance that out at the same time that we still have the job, right? We still have the job. They still got to get that homework done. They still have to graduate. We have to accept the challenges and also still believe change is possible and focus there and find that balance. The other thing is the balance between validation and confidence in our children. So when our children are letting us know about a fear they have, and it sounds so small for us compared to what we're dealing with adults. Validate that fear. Let them know that I get it. I understand. I know that's real for you. And I believe that I have confidence in you that you can handle that situation, right? I understand you felt very treated unfairly by that teacher, or your best friend made a new friend and you're worried that you're going to lose her. Instead of saying, oh, come on, there's other kids, or I'm sure it'll be fine. Be where they are. Understand that's hard. And I really have confidence in your ability to, figure it out. Finding that balance between validating our children and having confidence and encouraging them to go back in the fray and try again is kind of the sweet spot in kind of helping children manage their anxiety. Acknowledge it, don't dismiss it, don't fall in it yourself, and have confidence that they can handle it, right? That's that balance. The other thing is keep it simple and keep it clear and practice what you preach. So I am a fan of, like, in terms of rules in our family, basics are we are kind, we are safe, and we are responsible, right? And everything kind of fits under those buckets. And that's true for all our family, right? And if there's a time when, you lost your cool about something and your kid says to you, well, you're not being very kind, you can say, okay, I can hit that note. I can see that. It doesn't change that was not okay what you did, or you need to do whatever. But yes, I'm responsible as well for, these just basics of expectations. So as I said just a minute, just right now, take the note, make the repair. If you have the opportunity to apologize to your child, that is golden, a golden opportunity. If you're the time where your child says to you, hey, I have this feedback for you, that is a golden opportunity for you to model vulnerability, model your ability to take in information and grow from it. It is not an undermining of your authority. That doesn't mean that you have to say, okay, yes, I see that the way I said that to you was not the best way, and I apologize for that. It doesn't change that you still shouldn't have done the thing you did, or you still have to do the thing. But yes, I can take that note. Ask a question and listen to the answer, right? Your kid shows you something, and there oftentimes there's that thing of like, what is that? Like, what is that? Like, that's like, you kind of might want to make a comment sometimes about like the TikTok thing they're showing you, or the thing they're telling you. Take a minute and ask a question and listen about what kids are telling you. Consider special time. So we're really busy. Setting a time and setting a timer of like, let's figure out 5 minutes. And I mean 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Where I'm going to devote myself to you, and I'm with you. I'm not with your brother. I'm not with your husband. My phone is away. This is your time. Do what you want to do. You want to show me your TikToks. You want to play sorry. You want to try to teach the dog a trick while I listen and help you. Set it for 5 minutes or 15 minutes and do it once a week, once a month. Time that you're spending with them, that's just their time. Catch them doing well. We so often we're so busy and we just give the corrections. Catch them doing well and bank positive experience with them. Another thing is to use and instead of but. Use and instead of but. So let me say this about the holidays. So Thanksgiving's coming up. We usually go to grandma's and we see all the cousins. This year we're going to be at home because of the pandemic. So we're going to have Thanksgiving, but it's not going to be the same. All right, that's one thing. We're going to have Thanksgiving, but it's not going to be the same. Here's another way to say that. We're going to have Thanksgiving, and it's not going to be the same. We're going to have Thanksgiving, and it's not going to be the same. Do you hear that difference between the one and the other, right? Think about neuroplasticity and these small changes and the new pathways it creates in our brains and our children's brains when we are not putting the but in there, right? When we're holding two things in our minds, right? School is hard this year. School is hard this year, and learning is important, and we need to do it, right? And not like, school is, we have to go to school, but it's really hard. We have to go to school, and it's really hard, and it's really hard, right? You hear that difference? Another thing is when your kids come to you, whether it's something positive or something negative, if the kid shows you, hey, look at this drawing, or look at my report card, or look at what my teacher said to me, to get in the mind habit of saying, I'm so pleased you came to me. I feel so proud that you're telling me. It means so much to me that you're telling me that. Instead of like, good job, I'm so proud of you. Because if what they're hearing from you is when you say that, oh, you did a great job, that the message is that, I really please my mommy, right? When I do something good. Because then when there's something that's not so good, that's not going to be pleasing, the message is, I'm not going to share this one because it's not going to make her proud, right? The message you want to send is, it makes so much of a difference to me when you tell me things that matter to you. That's what's important to me. That's what's important to me. So it's another shift that I encourage you to try. Some parenting don'ts. Lecture. Get in and get out. Get in and get out. As adults, right? Children are a captive audience for us. They are a captive audience. And it is hard for us to put a period on it. Put a period on it. Say what you need to say and then get out. Because at some point, quite quickly, it's just going to come wah, 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 wah. They are not going to hear you, right? Or you're going to hit a point where they get frustrated and then you get frustrated. Say what you need to say. Be clear about it. Be firm about it and finish. Another thing is don't use hot communication, right? If you feel yourself getting flush, you feel that pit in your stomach, when it's like you are getting to that place where you're like, I am gonna, you feel yourself elevating, take a breath, walk out of the room and wait for a cooler moment. That hot communication may feel satisfying in the moment to you in some ways, right? Where you're really unloading, right? It is not going to be effective. It's not going to be effective. It's not going to produce the result in your child's behavior that you want it to do. Don't get into personal business. Kids do want parents to guide them, to let them know down the road, right? What's wrong and what's right. What fits in the categories of be kind, be safe, be responsible, right? When kids are getting older, they have more complex decisions to make. Teenagers, older kids do want you to weigh in about those bigger matters. What they don't want you to do is to get in their personal business. So you don't want to be a flashlight flashing in every single corner of like every single dirty sock and every single friendship relationship issue and every single TikTok they're making. You want to be a lighthouse, not a flashlight. And don't make it personal. Don't make it personal. Our kids are struggling. You're the safe adult. They're going to pin stuff on you. Remember, it's not personal. It's really not about you. It's just you are their safe adult. And you're the person that they're going to be a pill around.
You're at 15.
At 15?
Yep.
So the other thing, right, is that all our children struggle. That's where we are in 2020. And sometimes struggles become bigger and they impact functioning. And sometimes problems can feel so unsolvable that children think of solutions that are maladaptive, like self-harm. And that's also something that's really important to be aware of. There are some warning signs there that we all need to be clear-eyed about when someone's at risk of suicide. So talking about wanting to die, looking for ways to kill themselves, talking about feeling helpless, talking about feeling trapped or in unbearable pain, talking about being a burden, increasing drugs and alcohol, acting anxious or agitated, behaving recklessly, sleeping too little, too much, withdrawing or isolating themselves, and mood swings and showing rage. I'm going to show you this video that I think is worthwhile, which is kids talking about this.
I have my ups and downs, just like anybody else.
Maybe more than anybody else.
I can be hard to figure out.
And I like my privacy. I don't want you looking over my shoulder all the time.
But you know your kid better than anybody else. And if you think he's acting different than usual,
Acting really down, crying all the time for no good reason,
or getting really mad, not able to sleep, or sleeping too much,
Shutting her friends out or giving her stuff away.
acting reckless, drinking, using drugs, staying out late,
Suddenly not doing stuff he used to love.
or doing stuff that's just not like him.
it might be nothing to worry about. It might just be high school.
Or it might be something more. He might be depressed, not just feeling down, really depressed.
Might be that your kid is thinking about killing himself. It happened. More than you think. More than it should.
And people say, I had no idea.
I thought it was just a phase he was going through.
I never thought she'd do it.
I wish he'd come to me.
I wish he'd said something.
I wish I'd said something.
When it's too late. So if you think your kid's acting different, if she seems like a different person, say something.
Say, what's wrong? How can I help?
And ask straight out. Are you thinking about killing yourself? It doesn't hurt to ask. In fact, It helps.
When people are thinking about killing themselves, they want somebody to ask.
They want somebody to care.
Maybe you're afraid you'll make it worse if you ask. Like, you'll put the idea in their head.
Believe me, it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't hurt to ask. In fact, the best way to keep a teenager from killing herself is to ask, are you thinking about killing yourself?
And what if they say yes?
Or maybe.
Or sometimes,
Well, here's what you don't say.
That's crazy.
Don't be such a drama queen.
you're making too much of this.
That boy's not worth killing herself over. It's not going to solve anything.
You're just trying to get attention.
You're not going to kill yourself.
What you do say is,
I'm sorry you're feeling so bad. How can I help? We'll get through this together.
Let's keep you safe.
A lot of people think about killing themselves, adults and kids.
most of them never try it, but some of them do. So if your kid says,
I'd be better off dead. I can't live with this.
I'm gonna kill myself,
Take her seriously. Find someone she can talk to about it. Someone who knows how to help.
Sometimes kids want to kill themselves because something happened. A breakup, a failure. But sometimes it goes deeper, and it's not going to go away by itself. Get some help. Talk to your doctor.
Or a counselor at school.
Or your minister.
but don't just let it drop.
And make sure that your kid always has someone to turn to. Someone he trusts. Make a list together. Write them. 3, 4, 5 names.
Put a suicide hotline number on there too.
Have him keep that list in his wallet so he always knows where to turn.
Make sure your home is safe. If you have pills she could use to hurt herself, lock them up.
If you have a gun, don't just lock it up. Get it out of the house. Bullets too.
And one more thing. If you think your kid might be about to hurt himself, don't leave him alone.
Take them to the emergency room.
Call 911 if you have to.
We all have our ups and downs, but sometimes it's more than that.
If you think something's wrong, the only way to find out is to ask. Ask straight out. Are you thinking about killing yourself?
Don't wait until you're sure. Trust your gut.
Because it never hurts to ask.
And it can make a big difference. All the difference. In your kid's life.
So we're going to get the slide deck. Or it'll be available. You can see the National Suicide Hotline here is English and in Spanish. And there's also a crisis text line, which is really great for teens, right? Who might not want to feel comfortable talking to somebody. And so you'll have these resources. I'm going to move on a little bit to us, to parents. There's that quote there, which is parents are expected to stay in control of their lives, their children themselves. Some major part of this is impossible to fill, but because there's no way to learn parenting skills and truths ahead of time, we as parents worry that we don't seem to be in control, or when being in control means being harsh with our children. And that's by a woman named Patty Whiffler, and you have her website, Hand in Hand Parenting, in the resources at the end of the presentation. So I want to commend a couple of things to you. I want to commend the practice, and this is for you, and this is going back to neuroplasticity and going back to kind of what's coming out of positive psychology that's showing results for people. I want to encourage all of us to consider practicing self-compassion. So what does that mean? Self-compassion is different than self-esteem. Self-esteem is you do things and you feel good about them. Self-compassion is this. Here's a quote from the lead positive psychology researcher in self-compassion, Kristin Neff. She says, we can learn to feel good about ourselves, not because we're special and above average, because we're human beings worthy of respect. That's true for ourselves and our children, right? That's what we want to cultivate. It's not that we're special and above average, and we have evidence of that. We're human beings worthy of respect. There's 3 components of self-compassion. One is self-kindness versus self-judgment, right? We all have those voices in our heads, right? That negative self-talk that runs all the time. We're imposters. We've already messed up. We don't do enough. Report card time as parents is a really good time to get a lot of negative self-talk going. In cultivating self-kindness, we are cultivating, one way to think about it is this. Would I talk to someone I love? Let me picture someone I love so much, my sister, my child, my mother, and would I talk to them in the way I'm talking to myself in my head right now? For lots of us, the answer is going to be no. And what I'm commending is that you try to talk to yourself the way you would talk to someone you love. Another aspect of self-compassion is common humanity versus isolation. So does my suffering isolate me or connect me to other people, right? Am I the only one that's going through this and having this struggle, or are people all over, right? And there's certain kind of way with the pandemic that it gives us an opportunity to remember our common humanity. We are all struggling through this, right? And we tend to forget that and feel isolated in our suffering. And we can remember, right? We can remember that our suffering connects us to other people. And finally, mindfulness is versus over-identification. So instead of saying, I'm just an anxious person, right? Or I'm just a scattered person, or I'm just an angry person, we can begin to recognize that feeling and say to ourselves, oh, there's that familiar feeling of anxiety coming up. Had that before. They're high anxiety, right? Becoming aware and mindful of our feelings rather than over-identifying that we are our feelings, because we are not our feelings. We are not our feelings. And that ability to stay mindful of it helps us be self-compassionate. I'm going to skip these. These three that you can go through are skills to practice to increase positive emotions and reduce vulnerability to losing it. And they come out of dialectical behavioral therapy. So there's 3 slides here, but we ain't got time.
Rob, if they wouldn't be able to learn that on their own, we can take a few minutes to go over the how to do those, if you feel it'd be helpful for the audience to learn.
Sure. So I'll try to do it quickly. So dialectical behavioral therapy is a skills-based therapy. It was developed by people with personality disorders, but it's been proved helpful for a general population. I'm actually teaching a curriculum of DBT skills to a general population of high schools in Brooklyn. And a lot of the skills are developed in mnemonic devices, right? So ABC Please is one of them. And it is a set of skills that are used and have shown efficacy for people who practice them to increase positive emotions and reduce that vulnerability to losing it, right? Like on the Southern State Parkway, or with your kid, or with your spouse, with your coworker, whatever it is. And these are the skills. So what you want to do is you want to accumulate positive experiences, right? You want to build mastery, some sense that you are actually good at some things, right? Some things that you're aware that you actually are good at some things. You want to cope ahead of time with emotional situations. So when you know that open school night's coming up, or you need to have that conversation with your child, you are thinking about it, you're breathing, you're talking to yourself in a self-compassionate way, you're coping ahead of time. You want to pay attention to physical illness. You want to balance your eating. You want to avoid mood-altering drugs. You want to balance sleep and get exercise. Those skills help us all not be as vulnerable to losing it in those crisis moments. And I want to talk us a little bit specifically about the A of ABC, please. This one, accumulating positive experiences. There are 2 ways to do that. One's in the short term and one's in the long term. So if you're going to take this on, one of the things you're going to want to do in the short term is do pleasant things that are possible right now. So one thing a day, pick one thing a day, one pleasant thing a day. If that is for you eating a handful of cotton candy grapes that because they have them at Stop and Shop, you love them, or taking a walk with your neighbor with your dog, or taking a walk and instead of like looking at your phone, looking up at the trees, whatever that might be, one positive thing today. And here's the thing about that positive thing, you're going to want to do it mindfully. So you're going to want to focus your attention on the positive event while they're happening. And you're going to want to refocus your attention when your mind wanders, because the human mind wanders, right? In the past and in the future. It is the nature of our mind. That's fine. We note it. We bring it back to that positive experience. You're sitting down and eating those grapes. I'm eating those grapes, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm eating my grapes, and they're really good. You want to participate fully in the experience, and you want to be unmindful, right? You want to be mindful of positive experience, and you want to be unmindful while you're doing the positive experience in the short term of worries. So while you're doing that positive experience, you want to intentionally not destroy the positive experience by thinking about when it will end, right? So you're on the beach and you're not thinking, oh, I'm going to leave in an hour. You're enjoying and looking around, looking at the seagulls, listening to the sound of the waves. You want to bring it back to that time. You're going to want to not worry about whether you deserve this positive experience, right? You're going to want to recognize, I recognize that voice that questions whether I'm, worth it. I am not listening to that voice right now. I'm bringing myself back to the positive experience. And you don't want to worry about how much more might be expected of you now, right? So this is what you're doing now. This is what you're doing now. All those things that are coming in the future, they're going to come, right? But you don't want to have your mind there in that positive experience. One positive experience a day. In terms of accumulating positive experience for the long term, which is kind of what sets us up, right? For, being able to stay strong, being able to stay on our feet. What you're going to want to think about is making changes in your life so that positive events will occur more often. You want to think about building a life worth living. This is for yourself, thinking about this for your child. So work toward goals that are based on your values. So identify one goal, whatever that might be. For me, it was getting that certification in family therapy. I was really proud of myself. I did that at about age 53. I finished that certification program. And you want to list small steps towards that goal or value, getting out of bed, going to the first class, and you want to take a first step, buy an alarm clock, set a cell phone alarm. And you want another thing in terms of building positive experiences for the long term is you want to pay attention to relationships. Want to repair old, create new, and work on current relationships. So this is one of the things I want to commend is that we're all on this virtual setting, taking a walk with your neighbor, doing a book club with a group of parents, working on, a goal you have in common with someone. You want to cultivate your relationships. You don't want to become more isolated as time goes on because you're not going to be ready for the next crisis that comes. You want to avoid avoiding and you want to avoid giving up, right? So the feeling like of avoiding that, you can sort of say, oh, I kind of feel like I'm wanting to avoid kind of like what I need to do to work toward my goal. I remember that it's going to be better if I don't, and I'm going to have more of a sense of well-being if I don't do that. So you want to lean in to the goal you're working on, and you're going to want to not give up. Because even if you avoided one time and you want to beat yourself up and give up, don't give up and keep working on that goal. I have here, and you'll have this, a letter to yourself. What I want to encourage everybody to do is there's this site called futureme.org. You can write a letter to yourself and decide when you want it to come back to you. You put your email in and you're going to get that letter from back to yourself. It can be in a month. It could be in a year. You get to decide. And I want to encourage you when you get these resources and thinking about what we're doing today, to think about one idea or skill that resonates with you as a parent. One way you can take a small step toward incorporating that into your family life. One challenge that you might face in taking that step, and one way you can get help with that step. And then separately, I'm going to encourage you to think about yourself right now. So I think of myself right now, if I thought about myself right now, the way I think about someone I love, here's a message of gratitude and self-compassion I would express to myself if I was thinking about myself in the way I think about my grandmother or my child, right? And give yourself a message of gratitude and send that letter to yourself and have it come back. In closing, I want to say that there's, as I said, a lot of research around building wellness and building resilience. And this is another key researcher in building resilience in children, Anna Mastin. And in her research, she concludes that resilience is common, and it typically arises from the operation of normal rather than extraordinary human capabilities, relationships, and resources. In other words, resilience emerges from ordinary magic. So it is your everyday, day in and day in out relationship with your child. It is nothing, that comes out of nowhere, or it's not some other person. It is what happens in everyday life that builds resilience. So I also encourage you going forward to think about what ordinary magic you can make for in the coming period for yourself as a person, as a parent, and with your children. And finally, when you get that, you're going to get a set of resources. There are a number of resources. I really encourage that Center for Parent and Teen Communication you can get a text from them every day that's 100 words on parenting that can come to you on a regular basis to your phone as a little bit of like, just information and sort of cheering around parenting. Really recommend that. There's a bunch of tools around positive parenting, around using DBT skills, like we talked about, ABC Please. There's everything here. I didn't put anything here that costs money. There's a free, no-cost 5-day course in behavior change that you can take and sign up for. If there's something that you want to do for yourself, you can go on this Tiny Habits website. And they will take you through a 5-day course, free and no cost in behavior change. Do that with a parent friend. Both do, right? Do it together, build a relationship. And that's it. Thank you so much for sticking in there for this presentation. I cannot believe so many people are committing this time on a weekday and a school night. So thank you so much.
Rob, thank you. I don't know if you guys have questions, you can definitely type it in the chat box. The recording and the presentation will be available on the website. When I have the exact location, I will send out an email and let you all know where you can locate tonight's parent support forum, as well as the upcoming parent support forums. And in the presentation, when you get that on the website, that's where you will get all of the websites. So I had in the chat to please email the websites. You'll have access to that presentation and you can click directly on those links and it will send you to all of those websites. We have a lot of thank yous, Robert, in the chat. A lot of people feel the information was really great. They're thanking you for your time. The name of the video with the kids that talk about suicide. What's the name of that?
It's Teen Suicide Prevention from the Mayo Clinic. And it's on YouTube. So if you put in Teen Suicide Prevention, even if you don't put in Mayo Clinic, it'll be in the top 2 or 3 videos that you see.
Okay. A lot of people saying thank you very much. Really informative, awesome information. So I thank you all again for joining us. Our next parent forum is going to be on December 2nd. That topic is looking at today is going to be a good day and is going to delve into anxiety. As always, I will be sending those links out as we get closer to the event. Have a safe and wonderful Thanksgiving, and thank you all for joining us.
Good night, everybody.
Don't forget, if you have a building full of 4 buildings full of amazing PPS staff. Our school counselors, our school psychologists, and our school social workers are there all the time to help you with whatever challenge you're facing. And they actually do refer out to Robert and other local therapists. So if you feel like you need a little bit more support, don't hesitate to reach out to them.